Hi, good evening, everyone. This is Bridge here, and a warm welcome to all of you. Happy New Year to you too, sir. And welcome to this webinar on roadmap, how to become a roadmap for data analytics for finance professionals. Okay, great. So we'll have a webinar which will be for an hour, where we'll take you through the roadmap, and the webinar will be conducted by Deepak, who is a chartered accountant and who is also a practice. He's running a consultancy firm on data analytics from Calcutta, and I will be a co-host. So before we start the webinar, today's webinar, I would like to start and with all of you in terms of what is a question which is there in your mind which you would like to have an answer to at the end of the webinar. So if you can just if you can just put it that on the chat mode, few answers which you would like to have from today's webinar, which will give you a little clarity in terms of the roadmap for becoming a data analyst. Whatever questions comes to your mind. What we will do is once you post the chapter in the chat mode, in the chat, so that after we have completed the webinar, we will go through the question and see whether we have successfully answered all the questions. If not, maybe we'll try to rephrase it or we'll try to answer that question. So if you can open your chat mode and type whatever comes to your mind in terms of what are the key things which you would like to understand as far as the roadmap of becoming a data analyst. I will wait for others to respond. So if you just can please put that in chat mode. Skill sets and courses to cover for data analyst. Okay. How to gather data, that is how to ensure the quality of data. Aman says, great. I would request all of you to please use the chat mode and post the question so that do it require coding language? That's the most common question which has been asked. So Sujit, we will try to answer that question today. We'll surely get that answer whether we require coding, and if also great. And this is the whole heart of today's webinar, how also transition to DA role. So from maybe a finance role, how do we transition to a DA role? That's the heart of today's webinar. So although we will cover a little bit about anything, but I think predominantly we'll try to answer this question, how to do a transition to a DA role. What kind of finance functions or activity will it cover? That's also we'll try to cover. Great. Chetan. Anyone else? Okay. So in case you have any other question which you would like to top of the mind for which you would like to have an answer at the end of the webinar, I can put that in the chat mode. Again, after the end of the webinar, towards the end of the webinar, we will run through that question chat to see whether we have successfully replied to all the questions. Okay, great. Said that, as I move ahead, uh, Deepak, you are there?
Yes, Bridge.
Hold on. Hello, Deepak.
Yeah, I'm there.
You are there. Your voice is
Hello, can you hear me now?
faint voice, Deepak.
Can you hear me now?
Faint voice, Deepak. Hello. Deepak, can you try to adjust your microphone?
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, Deepak, but if you can come closer to your microphone because we are.
I am using a headphone and it is very well connected.
Hold on, let me just. You say something, Deepak?
Hello?
Yeah, it's clear, Deepak.
Now you can hear me. Now you can hear me?
Okay, I can hear you, Deepak.
Yeah.
Okay. So would you like to take it forward, Deepak, from here?
Yes. Can you give me the control?
Hold on. But Deepak, I am running the PPT. So do you want to run the PPT from your end?
I mean, you can give me the control and
Okay, hold on.
that will be better for me.
That is, you'll have to hold on. Let me just see. Let me give you the control.
I guess I have got the control.
Yeah.
Give me a sec. Can you see my screen now?
Yeah, we can see your screen, Deepak. So all of you, Deepak is audible to all of you. In case you have some concern, to let us know. Otherwise, I'm assuming all of you can hear Deepak.
Should I start?
Yeah, Deepak.
Yeah. So,
Voice is little low, Deepak.
uh,
Yeah, this is better.
okay. So I think I'll have to now literally put the mic in the mouth. So, is it audible now, right?
Yes, it's good.
Okay. So, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our monthly webinar on how data analytics is going to change the world and how you can upskill yourself in the field of data analytics. A couple of hours back, I was having a discussion with one of candidate who happens to be in the finance domain, and he had a couple of queries which I'm going to which I felt that that is quite pertinent, and that I keep on getting those questions from regular candidates whom I converse with. So I'll take those questions. So today's webinar is more about you know uh, showing you the roadmap on how to uh, become a data analyst, and how you can upskill yourself in this in a hot field. Having said that, if you browse on Google, or do web searches, you will find lots of materials wherein people keep on giving 10 different 12 different areas you need to specialize or upskill yourself to become a data analyst. But having spent almost 5 to 7 years in this data analytics field, myself working with MNC, and now running the consultancy firm, I feel there are primarily 3 to 4 key areas which you need to develop um, within yourself to become a good data analyst. All those 10 or 12 different areas which they keep on asking you to upskill yourself is basically from the theoretical perspective. But when you come to practical scenarios, solving real life problems, real life business problems, only 3 4 basically skill set or the tool set which is required. So in this webinar we will cover three broad aspect. First is we'll talk about something called data explosion, and then we will move towards the new emerging role, or I can say it was there 10 years 20 years back as well, but now, since the word data has become more prominent in our in the market, so the role of data analyst has been vehemently spoken out, and the importance of data analysts have grown immensely. And in the third part we'll talk about roadmap, how you can upskill yourself in this field of data analytics. Okay, so these are broadly 3 areas which we are going to cover today, and at the end of the session we will take your query. We have received queries online at the time of registration, so we'll cater to as well, and live queries as and when we get. So let's talk about something which we generally call data explosion. Now, uh, take a very small example, a very small example uh, of you say McDonald's, or you can take an example of KFC. So we walk into KFC, we order chicken or veg zinger, uh, cold drink, fries. We pay for those items. We come back and we relish our food. We receive the invoice copy, and I mean, as a general rule, we don't see what is there on the invoice copy, and we discard those invoice copies. But have you ever, tomorrow if you go to any KFC outlet, or for that matter any eatery joint or any other outlet, you have a look at the invoice very minutely, and give it a thought. Pause for a moment and give it a thought that what are the various types of data that that particular invoice is trying to record. Okay, five different types of no data, just five different types of data. You mark it and you pause for a moment and think over it. That five different data points is being captured by that single outlet, and KFC would have n number of outlets, throughout India. Multiply that with the n number of outlets, and then multiply that with the 10 years of data, and you can understand what is the quantum of data that is getting generated each and every day. We all have now smartwatches, or we all have Fitbits, you know uh, smartwatches, Fitbits, which basically records and captures every activity that we do. Even we are sleeping, they are capturing data. How deep is our sleep? How many times we had a dream? Okay, so that is the level of data that is being generated and captured, which was not 10 years, 20 years back, which was not possible 10, 20 years back. That is primarily because of this massive storage of data, massive storage of details by the companies, by the organizations, by the apps. That is what we call as data explosion. Okay, starting from Facebook to Instagram to LinkedIn, to Gmails, everywhere single data point is getting generated everywhere in your life. So that data point is getting generated and stored, and that has grown tremendously over the last 5 years or so. And that is what we call it as data explosion. you know the data has exploded. The storage, the retrieval of data, the analysis of the data has become lot more important nowadays. That is why it has been termed as data explosion. This graph basically demonstrate how the data has generated, and see the pace of generation of the data. 2006, 7, we hardly had any amount of we had data, but we were not capturing those data, and we didn't have, because we were not realizing the importance of data, that the data can give it to us or the organization. So the data was there, but there was very less mean or less importance given to the data. That is why it was not getting stored. But eventually from 2008 onwards, you see the storage and the generation of data has exploded heavily, has exploded tremendously. And you see, in 2020, the span of data has reached around 50, crossed 50,000 billions of GB. In our cell phone, we have around 64 GB or 128 GB of data. Just think about this 50,000 billions of GB. And nowadays, I mean, the big companies, they don't talk about GBs of data. They talk about exabytes, terabytes. Okay, the data center, I mean, you would have gone through the uh, YouTube videos on the Google data center. just go some of the videos on YouTube and see the massive data centers that they have, the Google. And we call Google the god of data. Whatever information you want, you just Google it and Google will have that data. Why? Because Google is storing that data. So you see, the pace of generation of data, has shot up like anything. And the unstructured data, what we call it as unstructured data is, say for example, you are watching YouTube videos, and somewhere your, how many minutes you have watched that video, how many clicks you have done on YouTube. So that is basically unstructured data. For example, your sales data, that is a structured one, because that is coming in Excel in rows and columns format. That is a structured one, you can straight away use that data for your analysis. But unstructured data you cannot straight away use for your analysis. You have to scrape that data, you have to clean that data, and then you can, do analysis on that data. So you see, the pace of generation of unstructured data is has also grown tremendously. And that is why, the programming languages like Python, they are excelling a lot in this field, because of this generation of unstructured data. Okay, so this is how the data explosion has happened from 2008 to 2020. You see the sharp increase in the data. So this is nothing but data explosion, and it is not happening slowly. It is becoming at coming at a very rapid, pace. These are some of the facts and figures. So every 60 seconds we have 98,000 plus tweets. We have around 6 lakh 7 lakhs status updates, 11 million instant messages, around 7 lakh Google searches, 168 million emails, and 1820 TB of data is created every 60 seconds. And we have, every 60 seconds we are adding 217 or 220 odd new mobile web users. So you can understand the pace at which the data is getting generated. And why this data that is getting generated and stored, because now the organization, they know that they can do a lot using this data. They can analyze the data, and they can, use this data for their business purposes. A couple of days back you would have received a WhatsApp notification regarding privacy policy. What is that privacy policy saying? We have installed and have been using WhatsApp for last, 7 years or 10 years. We have never paid to WhatsApp. So how is WhatsApp, or say Facebook, earning this thing, their revenue? Because of these ad messages, ad advertisements, product advertisement that is, hosted uh, on their website. So it has been rightly said that when you don't pay for a service, you become a product for the organization. When you don't pay for a service, you become a product for that organization. So what Facebook and WhatsApp people, they do basically is, they use your data, they use your, behavior, your website visiting patterns, your views, etc., to understand your purchasing behavior, your likes and dislikes, and then they kind of, sell this data to the product companies who are willing to pay them. And they are earning huge amount of money, they are earning huge amount of money on this. Bridge, can you give me a couple of seconds?
Huh. Good.
uh,
Let me take this opportunity to also say that, for example, when you said that companies, Facebook and Google, they collect a lot of user data in terms of their behavior, and then they sell it for advertisement. It's also now WhatsApp has got linked with Facebook. So all the WhatsApp activity, what you do, I mean, from that activity, Facebook will try to make sense of what kind of ads to show you. And although and as an if you look at from the point of view an advertisers, so what when Facebook and Google, what they do is they don't share your details. So they don't share your personal details to the advertisers. So what they
Correct.
do is they try to show you an ad which you are most likely to click.
Correct.
Yeah, so that's how they work. So one is, so from the people who are giving advertisement, where they're spending money on Google and Facebook, uh, they, they for their service they want to reach out to right people. Maybe you are the right people for maybe a jar. So if I wanted to sell a jar, I want to reach out to you. Reaching out to you by other conventional mode, by television, is ineffective, because I will be reaching out to all India. Or so this is a very targeted reach, that also brings a lot of efficiency, that I am showing ad to only that people who is interested. So
Correct.
there are two sides. One is, I mean, you're giving, you're compromising with your privacy, but these organizations, for example, Facebook and Google, they are not sharing your email ID or your personal details. They are using your data and behavior and trying to show you an ad which you're most likely to convert.
Correct.
So yeah,
Behavior in terms of
of clicking.
uh,
So
clicking, and
clicking. So
the
so
amount
for
of time,
example,
you are spending on a
so for
product.
example, if I am giving an ad where I want to collect users' email ID and phone number, for example, right?
Yeah.
And if you in your WhatsApp activity you don't click of lot of places, then Google will, but then Facebook will not, most probably not show you that ad, because normally you don't interact with ads.
Yeah.
So this is how, so it also brings a lot of efficiency, but so when we say that ads, so it also a lot of efficiency for the way companies want to reach out to their prospect customer.
Yeah. Yeah.
The more data, the more efficiency,
Correct.
and yeah, and that's how it is.
And somehow, I mean, somewhere, I mean, these companies obviously have to honor the privacy policy of
True,
the countries where they
true,
are operating.
true.
And I mean, they never compromise that, but somehow they use those data points which they can in permissible in the before the court of law, and they can use those data points for their benefit and for their revenue.
बट दीपक, इसमें ऐसा भी है ना कि अगर मेरे को पूछे someone asks me individually कि if company like maybe a trusted company like maybe Google or Facebook, if they are using my data to show me a right ad,
Mhm.
then I am okay with that. I mean, if they are not selling my information, they are not giving my email ID to anyone,
No,
and I think these
but
companies don't do that. Yeah,
no, but no. So these companies, what they do is, uh, so how these things works, right? So when you see an ad on YouTube or on Facebook, and you click on that particular ad, okay, what happens is the data is getting captured by Facebook, right? Now Facebook,
right.
what Facebook will do, they will reach out to that particular company who had hosted that product,
Ad. Hmm.
and tell that see, this particular person has
नहीं नहीं
spent say
देते,
1 minute or 2 minute on this
नहीं
particular
देते हैं वो,
this thing.
नहीं, वो नहीं
No,
देता है वो what they will do is, जहाँ पे ऐसा आता है ना, they will group, they'll say 100 people watched your thing for 2 minutes, they will never share personal detail, कभी नहीं देते हैं वो लोग.
no, so they will
अब
not share, they will not share your personal details, your
मतलब
email,
कि अब
thing.
मैं तो दीपक हैज वॉच योर वीडियो फॉर 2 मिनट्स, वो कभी नहीं, they will group it, से 100 people have watched और for 2 minutes, or 200 people have watched for 5 minutes, वो इस तरह से उसको ना statistics में convert कर देंगे. So uh, I mean, I'm
Correct.
talking about companies
They,
like
they,
Facebook
they will not,
and
they will not,
Google.
they will not, they will not share your personal details, but these details, that the amount of time you are spending
हाँ
on that particular this thing, so they are freely, they are allowed to share those data points.
हाँ
So
वो तो
they will not share that this particular person has clicked. They will
true.
say
Right.
person one, he has spent this amount of time on this particular ad, spent this particular minutes, okay, click this product. So this is how they basically reshape their data.
True,
They
true,
are obviously not going to disclose your true name and I know your mobile number
true, true,
or say
true.
email ID. So that will be basically a XYZ kind of a structure that they will build and share it with the their prospects. So let us go ahead. I'll just share my screen again.
तो share है दीपक, you just go to your presentation, yeah,
Yeah.
it's already shared, and put it in the presentation mode, yeah, that's
So these are some of the facts and figures that is basically an eye opener to understand how rapid space the data is getting generated, and how why there is need to analyze these data. Now what is happening is, because of uh, so much of data getting generated, the companies what they had been doing. So I'll take a very small example of a Calcutta based company, who is around 30 years old. So they are into hospitality industry. So what they have done for the past 10 years, I was interacting with the uh, management, and they said that we knew that this thing, the data would become important someday. So we have been accumulating this data for the past 10 years. Okay, they were accumulating the data, but they never knew what to do with that data. Okay, they had huge quantum of data of customer behavior, restaurants behavior, what kind of menu, what kind of orders people are placing, what is the occupancy rate on, I mean, various part of the year. So all this data they were storing, but they were not analyzing. So what they told me that we had this data, but we never knew what to do with this data. So they were literally storing huge quantum of data without using that data. So what I told them, that you are basically drowning in the data. You are not utilizing that data uh, to to suit best to your business, to bring in insights from the data and take business decisions. You are just storing that data, and that is what I told them, that majority of the business organization now, even though they have good system of storing the data, they are analyzing less of data. Okay, I have worked with big fours and multinational companies, so they have huge quantum of data, but they are keeping that data as it is. Okay, so that is what leading to something called data drowning. You have lot of data, but you don't know what to do with that data, and eventually that data is occupying your a huge amount of cost, your storage cost. Many a times what happens, when you have to retrieve that data, you have to do an SQL query, you have to save that data on clouds. So all these costs are basically burdening you. So why not utilize that data? Why not analyze that data and come up with this concept of data drowning? So because of this huge quantum of data, if you don't analyze your data and keep on storing and saving your data without any business impact getting generated, so you will lead into data drowning. So many organizations are facing this. So who will come and save these organizations from becoming a data drowning organizations? So we will have someone called data analyst, who will basically save this big organization from this concept of data drowning. And that is where the importance of data analyst comes into the picture. Data analyst is someone who basically uses the data stored in the organization or available freely in the public domain, and bring in insights, uh, and which is of great business importance to the organizations. And the role of a data analyst has grown tremendously over the years, more so in last 5 years. And nowadays, you know uh, organizations, they demand less people who are just doing MIS thing and traditional accounting. They want someone who can analyze their data, because you have accounting packages, accounting tools that are available in the market, MIS tools that are available in the market, who can which can automate your entire process, data storing and I mean, giving you pictures and visualizations. But the role of data analyst is to analyze the data and bring in insights. That's where the importance of data analyst creeps in.
Deepak, here I would like to add one thing.
Yeah.
Is that and I'm referring to the chart which you have shown, that from 2008 the way data explosion has happened.
Yeah.
Prior to 2000, and Excel was there, I think, in from 1992, or I don't know from where, but when I started using, so all the people who were started using Excel till maybe 2010 or even now,
Hmm.
initially they were called MIS specialist or or data analyst. So this was a name which was also used in context of MIS specialist. So
Correct.
normally a lot of people from finance background, when they look at data analyst, they normally think it is an MIS specialist in terms of Excel ka period wala, where they
Correct.
have limited data and data explosion has not happened. So the
Correct.
fundamental difference in terms of data analytics, what we are talking, and maybe say Excel based analysis or an MIS specialist are different. That
Correct.
is one people normally get confused कि यार मैं Excel में भी तो यही करता हूँ.
Correct.
So 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 the level is and the tools and what you do with the data is totally different for a data analyst and then for an MIS specialist. MIS specialist is more of collating data
Correct.
and putting it in a spreadsheet. But
Correct.
this is
And
a little
preparing
different.
that data for further analysis.
Right.
Now, I will add one more point. So, I mean, if you would had got the chance to look at it, so Python they have come up with an add-in for Excel, which is called Pixel, PYXL. So, like, you know, you get this add-in downloaded, and whatever charts you have been doing in Excel, you can do in Python, and I mean within, so you can understand why this what are the limitations of using this Excel, which we will cover in a later slides. Just to keep your thoughts going, that Python they have come up with Excel add-ins, and Excel, Microsoft Excel, they have very efficiently and very seamlessly they have integrated that Python module in their
But
Excel.
right, Deepak. Deepak, इसमें also there is one more thing that the fundamental way we look at data analysis is very different for someone who is using Excel for doing MIS related job and for data analytics what we are talking. Predominantly, when we say data analytics, what we are referring as predictive analysis, right? The heart of data analytics.
Correct, correct,
Now, a lot of people don't understand the difference between these two. So what we have done is we have created an exercise, that HR data wala thing, where
correct.
we give them some data and then say, now you do your analysis. And most, I mean, 99% of the existing finance professional, they will do something, we call it what, so क्या बोलते हैं वो? Diagnostic analysis.
Diagnostic and descriptive analytics.
हाँ, डिस्क्रिप्टिव एनालिसिस करके आ जाते हैं. So I think all the participants who are there, if they want to try it out fresh hand, just put your number, mobile number on the chat mode. So what we will do is we will send you that information on email, or maybe email ID तो है आपका, तो हम लोग email में भेज देंगे आपको. You try it out yourself. तो आपको
Correct.
समझेगा when you look at the data and try to apply your existing knowledge, तो उसमें से क्या एनालिसिस निकलता है, एंड देन वी विल शेयर यू अ सॉल्यूशन वेयर वी हैव यूज्ड डेटा एनालिटिक्स टू डू सर्टेन थिंग्स, एंड देन यू विल सी अ stark difference between what you think about data analytics and what is the potential of data analytics what we
Correct.
are talking, वो
So,
निकल के आ जाता है.
yes, so Bridge, I mean, couple of hours back, I was having discussion with one of the candidates here, and he had, I mean, he raised the same query that I want to become a hardcore data analytics guy, analyzing all my only my historical data. So I told him, see, organization they are very much keen on understanding, about their past historical data, but they are much more keener than keener to understand what would happen in future, and that's where you have this predictive
True.
analytics. And nowadays companies they are investing a lot in terms of how they can unearth the concept of predictive analytics in their organization, because then they will be way ahead, from their competitors. We understand the concept of budgeting, we always do budgeting in finance. So what till now what we have been doing is we have been using our standard set of business rules, that since my say HR cost has increased say 5%, 6% on an average yearly, so in budgeting for the next year I will take 5% escalation from my current year, and then that would be the number. But that is not the uh, scientific way of doing. So companies, what the companies are doing, they are using the power of predictive analytics to come up with those robust budget. Yeah, there will be a situation then that your HR expense would heavily depend on your marketing expense. Okay, the amount of marketing expense you do, that in turn affects your salary, I mean sales, that in turn affect your human HR requirement. So there is a huge lot of scientific way of getting the real numbers. So nowadays companies they are investing a lot in terms of predictive analytics, even in a simple budgeting scenario. So let us go ahead and see what is a data analyst, who is a data analyst, and what they do. Uh, primary application of data analyst is that of projections and advisory responsibility. You see, 44% is what they do, projections and advisory responsibility. That's what Bridge was telling right now, that companies are much more interested in terms of uh, understanding what is going to happen in the future. That is something called predictive analytics. Okay, so around 44% of the time that a data analyst puts in, it goes into projections and advisory responsibilities. Okay, next is research and writing tasks. So research is somewhat what if analysis. So this is a research. Now if my marketing expense goes up by 10%, what impact does it have on the sales? What impact does it have on a particular product segment? What impact it has on sales of a particular region? So those are research and what if analysis that a data analyst guys does. So predominantly these two combines around 70 to 75% of the work that a data analyst does. Remaining constitutes extrapolation or data visualization part. Many of us would say that data visualization is an integral part of data analyst. Yes, that is basically a tool set with which they do all these projections and research. We call it as exploratory data analysis, wherein they utilize the concept of data visualizations using Tableau and Power BI to come up with hidden insights in their data. So predominantly around 70 to 75% on projections and research related tasks. uh, what is the technical skills we will cover in the latest slides. And what is the typical tasks that they do? They collect the data, they organize the data, they interpret, they study the data, and they apply those concepts in their business scenarios. So why collection is 51%? What happens is, you have many organizations, they have data internally, but uh, organizations, they don't work in silos. They are working in an economy, open economy, where uh, any economic factors can impact their sales, can impact their business scenarios. So what data analyst generally does most of the time is, they try to collect as many data points as possible to make their analysis a robust one. That is why you see around 51% is what they invest in terms of collecting the data. And organizing the data is around 11 to 12%, which is basically, once they collect the data, they organize data in a format which can be used for the purpose of analyzing. Interpretation is again creating insights, building insights from the data, and using that insights for the purpose of business gain. Okay, so this is the primary objective and the work that uh, a traditional or the data analyst guy does. Now we will move to the last section, where we discuss about how we can become a data analyst, or you can say an good data analyst, the roadmap. The first and foremost which I feel is important to become a data analyst is analytical mindset. You know, what has happened, I mean, you just understand that when you were in class 2 or class 1, we all had this analytical mindset of questioning, why this thing has happened, how did this thing happen, who did this. So this was all the questions that kept on coming in our mind when during our childhood days. But what has happened is, as and when we have grown, we have stopped questioning, we have stopped questioning ourselves and the people about the things that is happening around us. So that has basically blocked our mindset, and that is where we have to come out of those blockages. Because the first and foremost and the most important skill set that I believe is having an analytical mindset. You can learn tool, you can learn techniques, you can learn maths, you can learn data visualizations, but if you don't have analytical mindset with you, you don't have the power of questioning, with you, then I mean it's a very difficult task for you to uh, uh, have this role of data analyst as your career. So the first and foremost thing is you should have an analytical mindset. And by having this analytical mindset, what is the analytical mindset? Is these 6 questions that you need to keep on asking. What? What happened? How did it happen? Where did it happen? Why did it happen? When did it happen? And who did it? Okay. So these 6 questions, any data, any you pick any data and you try to answer these 6 questions, you see the level of analysis, the level of insights you can derive from your um, data sets. Take a simple example: sales. What has happened? My sales have gone down. How did it happen? Because there was a competitor in the market. Where did it happen? Which are the region it got impacted? Why did it happen? Okay, why did it happen? Because there was a competitor and we could not come up with a quality product, or we could not compete. That is why my sales have fallen down. When? Which period of the year my sales went down? Okay, who did it? Was there any here we will concentrate on the competitor. Who did it? Who was basically behind this fall? The competitor was behind this fall. Okay, so if you try to answer all these 6 questions from your data set, you tend to see the level of analysis you can come up with. So just have that analytical mindset. So if I say out of 100%, 80 to 85% good data analyst people have this quality of having analytical mindset. You ask questions. The more you ask questions from a data, the more insights you will get. So analytical mindset is of umpteen importance to become a good data analyst. Second, now you have that analytical mindset, but having that analytical mindset, will it help you to do analysis in this arena of data explosion, in this era of data explosion? No, you have to have tools to do those analysis, to come up with those insights. These are 4 tools that are predominantly used in the area of data analytics. You have R language, you have Python, you have Tableau, and you have Power BI. R and Python, they are basically programming languages. Tableau and Power BI, these are basically business intelligence tools wherein you require less of programming techniques. In current scenario, or you can say 10 years down the line, what I foresee that Python and Tableau, they are going to capture huge quantum of market share. They have till now they have done that, but coming down 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, they will still going to rule this area. Python, why Python? Because Python is very simple to understand. A non-coding background person having no exposure in coding can grasp the concept of Python, can understand Python, and within a span of 1.5 month, he or she can become an intermediate level of Python users. Okay, why Tableau? Because Tableau is basically what I keep calling, um, uh, just like in cell phones, we have Apple product, Apple cell phone, iPhone, and we have Android phones. So Tableau is iPhone for data visualization, business intelligence. So if you have Power BI, also is very much powerful, but it is not as powerful, as robust, as rich in functionality as compared to Tableau. R is again a programming language, but it is more or less restricted to statistical analysis. And since our uh, uh, domain is into predictive analytics and machine learning, that's where Python programming language excels. Okay, so if you have this Python and Tableau as a weapon in your armory, you can become a very good data analyst, very good plus analytical mindset. So if you have 80 to 85% analytical mindset plus a combo of Python and Tableau, that's where you can beat anyone, any data analyst and Excel in your life. And why I can say beat any data analyst is the power of numbers that we have with us. I keep on telling, since we are from finance background, we know business, we know our numbers, and analytics is all about playing with numbers. And I have not seen any business domain, uh, any you know section apart from finance who are good in numbers. Okay, they can be good in understanding business, they can be good in creating strategies, but when it comes to numbers, understanding numbers, finance people always have an upper hand. So if you have that analytical mindset, if you have the knowledge of Python and Tableau with you, I mean, sky is the limit. The third and the most
Uh,
important, yeah,
Deepak,
yeah,
if you can just go back to the previous slide once, and I would just like to uh, here. So we also have a program on data analytics for finance, and in that program we are predominantly covering Python and Tableau. And one of the common, there are two questions which actually comes from this. One is, do I have to learn coding? That's the first question.
okay,
So as far as Tableau is concerned, Tableau is a drag and drop tool, right? Where
correct,
you can just drag your fields and graphically it comes out. But in
correct,
Python, you will have Python is not drag and drop. Python is you have to learn to use Python. You have to learn how to code in order to use
correct,
Python.
correct,
And that's one. Second is you don't have to learn Python. So we are not because Python has got a wide range of applications. So don't go to YouTube and try to say how to learn Python because
correct,
that way you will be entering into a totally different domain. We are
correct,
only talking about that aspect of Python which has to do with data analytics, right?
correct,
Which is what we do in the course, right? We just try to do that portion of that much of coding which
correct,
is required so that you get up and start running with Python. So in
correct.
terms of coding, I think Deepak, since you have started from the scratch, how much time would a normal a finance guy who has never coded, how much time he will take to get started with Python to start doing something meaningful? And और उसका experience क्या रहेगा? I mean, उसको क्या problems आएगा? Normally problems कैसे आते हैं? What kind of problem do they encounter when they start using this tool?
So the first thing, the first problem they have this which I call it as coding phobia. Okay, so they think that coding is meant for software background people. Okay, we have been using Excel, right? We whenever we have to do sum in Excel, we write this code equals to sum and bracket open, and we drag and drop. Okay, the cell area where we have to do which we have to do summation or any other function. So that is again a code, right? It is again a code we have been writing in Excel. So 10 years down the line, 10 years back, I mean, when I started my Excel, I was very much afraid with Excel. That how will I do summation? How will I do graphs in Excel? How will I make pivot? When I did my first VLOOKUP, when my manager told me to do a VLOOKUP, I was like, I mean, how can I do that VLOOKUP? But nowadays, you have the concept of XLOOKUP, HLOOKUP, everything coming up in Excel. So it's only in the beginning when you start learning is where you feel that you get you tend to become little afraid, but which I call it as phobia. But you know to become a good to have a good understanding of writing codes, 1 month is the optimum time which I believe any non-coding background people can become an intermediate level in Python, because
मतलब
that
when you
Python
say 1 month in
yeah.
terms of hours, कितना hours होगा दीपक वो?
So
हाँ,
so you say I ask people to devote 1 hour of coding every day. Okay, at night when everyone is asleep, you sit, you do some research. Okay, you write some code. Okay, and what you will eventually see is, so if you take that 1 hour every day, so 30 hours in a month. So if you devote 30 hours, okay, 30 hours in a month, you become an intermediate level of Python users, right? Intermediate in the terms of understanding the syntax, how coding is written. Okay, how if I have to do filter, what is one line of code that I have to write. Okay, so that level of expertise you can get in learning 30 hours, Python programming language.
And let me just qualify, when you say 30 hours, it is not 30 hours of video watching or 30 hours of training, it's 30 hours of writing codes.
Correct, correct. So 1 hour, 1 hour. So mark my word, 1 hour is not video watching. 1 hour is not reading the codes. 1 hour is writing your codes. Okay, writing your code, because I mean you have the power of your fingers. You see everything written codes in the copy in the notebook. But when you start writing the codes, eventually what will happen is when you have to do a filter, filter from a particular data set, your mind says that I have to do filter, and your fingers start writing the codes. So that will happen obviously, after 50 odd hours of coding or 100 hours of coding. But 30 hours of coding is the optimum time, which I believe uh, can make you an intermediate level of Python user.
Here I always, because I always, whenever I interact with people and who have this question in terms of coding, I always give them an example of, uh, uh, if you, when you are learning driving for the first time, you
Correct,
understand, if I create a video of how to learn driving, you will understand the process. But unless
correct,
and until you do the process yourself, you will not know how to drive.
correct,
And once you know how to drive, after that your body, I mean your mind doesn't have to think. You have to just, you can talk to someone, but your body will change the gear, put the
correct,
accelerator and do everything. So
correct,
your system, the entire body has to learn how to write code. For example, if you know there's a problem where you have to do a filter, automatically your hands will actually start writing before your mind actually says what to do.
correct,
So
correct,
that level of your body in a way get accustomed to writing code. If you say, like, for example, 30 hours, that's what happens in 30 hours of writing code.
correct, correct, correct.
And Deepak, there is one more related question to that is, there are two language predominantly for doing data analytics, or in machine learning, for example, machine learning data analytics. One is Python and one is R. Why
Mhm.
we don't cover R?
See, specializing in two different language is a little tough,
Hmm.
and obviously, if I have to invest time and money, I will learn something which is going to stay in the next 30 years or 50 years down the line. Okay, so you once you become a data analyst, you should not restrict yourself in the role of a data analyst, right? You have to become someone called data scientist, who has got a much wider and much bigger role than data analyst. So that what does that data scientist do? They uh, they involve themselves much more into machine learning. They involve much more into deep learning, and all this concept of machine learning and deep learning, that is there in Python. Okay, it's there in R, but it is very easily understood and interpretable in Python.
So,
Any machine learning and deep learning package that is available in the market, it is on Python.
so Deepak, if I have to put it in other words, so if I am a finance background, maybe a
Yeah,
BCom or a professional, and I'm trying to learn code for the first time,
yeah,
if I try to learn two codes, two languages, it will
yeah.
get all mix and match in my brain,
Correct,
right?
correct.
So what
Because
we
the
do is
format is too
we
different. The
right.
format is very
So
different.
the format is too different. So what we want to do is we want you to pick up, learn coding and get used to writing codes and do data analytics as quickly as possible. And
Correct.
that's how we have chosen Python, because Python has got a far more, what do you say, usage. It's got everywhere.
Easier
And
to understand and
if
easy
you
to run.
if you if you learn Python and Tableau, maybe 1 year, you can survive, and you can actually, what do you say, can move to an expert level. And
So,
after that, when you feel there is a need for an art, then you actually upgrade to learning another language. That will be pretty easy, unlike the
what
first time.
correct bridge, and it's been 5 7 years for me into this analytics, and 2 and 3 years into this consultancy business. No, I have never seen a situation that what I can't do in Python, right? So everything I can do in Python, and I have not seen a situation wherein I have to use R. Okay, again, R is a very good, very strong language, but it has its own limitation. It is primarily used in the academia world, in colleges and schools, to teach them statistics, And it has so once I'm learning data analytics, obviously I'm creating a product. I will deploy it, I will use it in commercial sense, right? So using your analytics in a commercial sense is available in Python, but not in R. That is one
Okay.
big limitation where organizations, so you can do a lot of research in R. Okay, all this researches that were going for this COVID vaccines, majority of them were done in R, by the scientists, by the doctors. Okay, because it has got a lot more statistical this thing. But when you come to a commercial setup, in machine learning or say deep learning on artificial intelligence, okay, or a natural language processing, you have this Alexa with you, right? So that Alexa, that NLP code is written in Python. Okay, majority of the tools that Google comes out is in Python, and you will see the creator of Python, Guido Rossum, he has joined Microsoft. So he will be working back with Microsoft, and Microsoft is going to invest a lot in terms of Python because they see the opportunity, they see the level of functionalities and features that is there in Python. Nowadays, if you go in any data analytics job profile, they will ask predominantly about Python and Tableau. Okay, Python because it is number one language currently, and if I foresee for the next 20 years, 30 years, there wouldn't be any language which is even nearer to Python. And Tableau
Uh,
is again number one
uh,
in business intelligence.
Deepak, there is a question from GC saying that what about SQL?
Correct. So SQL is largely required by a people called data engineering guys. So the task of data engineering guys is to collect all the data and create a database and keep the data in a structured format. Okay, that's where the use of SQL is predominantly required, and that is generally done by data engineering guys, not a data analyst. In many small organization where they have this fund shortage, so they use the same person to do uh, uh, SQL, or create a database thing and save the data in the database and then do the analysis as well. But uh, data engineering is much more technical, and it is done by data engineering guys, and that's predominantly where you apply the concept of SQL.
But I think also what we have done is in the course which we have created an SQL program where we give you an overview of SQL. So
Yeah,
after maybe going through that, so you don't have to actually write the code from
correct,
scratch. It's you should be able to read the codes and understand what it's doing.
correct,
So maybe what we've done is we have created a course of around 1.5 hours, which will give you an overview of how to actually read the code, navigate the code, and what the basic codes do. So
correct,
if you go through that course and maybe you practice for 2 hours, you should be good to actually good to go with SQL as far as your data analytics skills are concerned. So you
correct,
don't have to spend maybe 40 hours to actually go and learn SQL because you will not be doing high level structured query language because that is what Deepak suggested it will be done by a data engineer
engineer.
team. But
Yeah,
you should, as an interface, you should be able to read them wherever required and decipher the code. So in our program, we are covering SQL, which will give an overview of how to read SQL, how to deal with SQL.
correct. At least the understand of the codes is important, which is required. But if you are delving into data analytics role, data analyst role, you'll not have much of thing coming in SQL. So these are predominantly the tools which we require. Now the most important is communicating the result. We are short of time, so I'll quickly wrap it up. Once you have done the analysis, you have all the analytical mindset, you have the tool set with you, Python, Tableau. You have done the analysis, you have come up with insights. What is the most important thing with the analytics analysis that you have done? You have to project it to your management, so or within your team. So that's where your communication skills comes in. How effectively you are able to communicate your insight to your team, to the senior management. And that's where your communication skills, your presentation skills is a very much important. For example, if we have to show the trend of sales, okay, over a period of 10 years, what type of charts should I use? Okay, how should I break that chart into product wise, or into period wise, or into region wise? Okay, so that is the level of expertise you need to have when you are trying to communicate your result. Because you have done your analysis in Python and Tableau, you've come up with insights. Your management will not know the codes, right? They will just see the numbers, see the pictures. So that's where your communication skills is of importance. Okay, you have to become a storyteller. Okay, so again, that what happened, how happened, who did it, when did it happen. So you have to create a narrative to the analysis that you have done, starting from end to end. So that is where your communication skills would be required. Okay, the last and the most important thing which I keep on iterating is, you have to practice, practice, and practice. And that's what Bridge also reiterated, that 1 hour is doesn't mean 1 hour of video watching. 1 hour means 1 hour of practicing. Even if you write couple of codes, you have errors. Okay, you find those errors on internet. What are the solution for those errors? So that 1 hour of research is of very much important, guys. And you have to practice, practice, and practice. If you feel that you can read a book and you watch videos and that would make you a data analyst, no. So these are some of the popular data set sources that I have put across. You can these are all the data sets out here are freely available with no cost. So you can download data based your requirement, based your interest. Okay, and start practicing. So these are some of the popular data set sources. So I'll quickly wrap it up. You need to have an analytical mindset, which is of umpteen importance. You need to have a tool set. Python and Tableau is the deadliest combination you can have. And once you have done the analysis, you should be able to communicate your results to your management. And the fourth is practice. So if you are able to do this four skill set, if you are able to improve this four skill set within you, I mean, you can become a good data analyst in your organizations, and upskill yourself in the career. This chart basically tells about the various skill set you would require as a data analyst. um, I got this slide incorporated because you have this comparative analysis between data analyst, machine learning, data engineer, and a data scientist, but we'll predominantly focus on the first data analyst part. So programming tools is very important. You see, very important to become a data analyst, because day in and day out you would be working with big data. You would be working a huge quantum of data. So you need to have programming tools knowledge with you, because what programming language does is, it gives you the power of reproducibility. Once you have written a code for one of your client, you can use the same code for other client. So that is where the advantage of reproducibility or repeatability is helpful in terms of programming a language. You write a code in Python, filtering code, same filtering code you can apply to other client, to other client of yours. So that is one of the main advantage of using these programming tools. Data visualization is communication is very important. We talked about data intuition is somewhat important. Statistics is also somewhat important. And when I talk about statistics, it doesn't mean you have to become an expert in statistics. Okay, you have to have basic knowledge of statistics. What is mean, median, mode, what is standard deviation, what is variance, okay, what is a normal distribution, all those basic concepts. And I'm guessing if we had mathematics in +2 level, we would have covered a good amount of statistics as well. Okay, so statistics is also somewhat important. Data wrangling is not that important, because again, data wrangling is much in most of the organization majorly done by data engineers. Machine learning is not that important. Software engineering is not that important, because we are not creating any softwares. Calculus and algebra is also not that important. So what important for us is have the knowledge of programming tools, which is Python and Python. You have the concept of data visualization and communication where Tableau excels. So predominantly first 2 points will be covered by Python and Tableau. You need to have a data intuition, thinking about data, what this data needs to tell me, and a basic concept of statistics. Okay, this is basically the skill set that a data analyst would require.
Deepak, one thing I would like to point here is that anyone who is, since you are into this day in and day out, to you it's like this terminology, etc., very simple. But from an outsider, it becomes overwhelming. This is like too much of things coming in at once, and uh, that is how I think मुझे लगता है कि if someone has to, particularly finance guys, if you are a college student, maybe a technical student, and there are so many resources and you can spend maybe 100 200 hours and then maybe you can learn data analytics. But if you are a finance professional, working professional,
Correct.
and you are not student and you have a paucity of time, then I think it's मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि uh, a course which is like what we have created, where it is crisp, to the point, not for engineers but for finance fraternity, so that they can actually quickly get ahead to the heart of data analytics, which is predictive analysis, is extremely useful. है ना?
Correct.
मतलब,
So if you
that's what.
see, what are the courses that are available in the market bridge, so they are giving 100+ hours of video watching or lectures, something like that. Okay, so what generally is, you have so there's a rule that on YouTube, if you see any video, advertisement video, you tend to be interested in for first 90 seconds only. Okay, similarly in learning phase also, uh, 30 to 35 hours is the optimum amount of learning that you can do. Okay, even if you enroll yourself with 100+hours, you tend to go through only 30 to 35 hours on an average. Okay, that is why we created this course, not to have this 50 hours or 100 hours of detailed training, but using the concept which is very much required to you, condensing it in a 25 to 30 hours of training, of videos, lectures, so that you can get those 30 hours imbibed within you, and in 2 months or 2.5 months, 3 months, you become a good, you become an upscale in this area of data analytics.
For example, if here, if you give an example of SQL, for example, SQL, there they would have maybe a 25 hours of SQL coding. Yeah.
Correct, correct.
Here, maybe we get an overview what is actually required for a finance guy to understand in SQL. Yeah. So we
Correct,
compress it and we spend time where it is required. For example, in Python and predominantly in predictive analysis, we spend a lot of time to go
correct.
take you deep
In
dive,
data wrangling,
data wrangling, for example. Yeah.
in data cleaning, in visualization, where we feel that you have to invest a lot of time. So what are the charts that you can perform, what are the advantages and a disadvantage of a chart, where you can use it. So that's where, so we chop off what I'll say, not so required part, and we concentrate more on part which can get you up and running as soon as possible. So this roadmap career path will basically show you your journey. You start with a beginner, then you become an advanced beginner, you then again become a competent practitioner, and then you become a champion. Okay, this are the 4 stages of your career that you would be in. As a finance guy, if I say that we are somehow in this phase, advanced beginner, because with the power of numbers that we have, uh, and playing with numbers day in and day out, we have already crossed this beginner level of expertise. We have come in this advanced beginner area, wherein a little bit of programming skill which is missing in us can shape this particular stage of ours, advanced beginner. And once I pick up the language of Python and Tableau, I can then move ahead into this to area of competent practitioner and a champion in this field. So most of us would be falling in this advanced beginner stage, wherein little bit of programming skill would be really helpful for us to bring our career to the next level. Okay, so that is basically the four stages of the career path that you can have in data analyst role.
Deepak,
Yeah.
uh, if on this slide, since you were like most of the people who are actually listening to to this webinar, a finance background, done his Bcom, and then he's maybe done his CA, and after that started working in a company in a finance role, and from there you have moved your career, and today you are doing a full-fledged running a full-fledged consultancy in data analytics.
Yeah.
So if you can, maybe one is this chart explains in terms of beginners and advanced beginners, how have been your experience in terms of thinking about data analytics, maybe from BCom to how you moved into this, and what are the major challenges which you have faced both mentally and at workplace?
So, Bridge, the thing was, after qualifying my CA, I went into hardcore accounting, and we did a lot of number crunching there. Less of insights, I would say, but more of number crunching there. Then I moved into auditing role, and that's where so this auditing role gives you the power of analyzing the data what has happened in the organization. So that's where the competence of analyzing the data, looking data from various perspectives, 360-degree view, give me the importance of having that analytical mindset. But I was using this concept of data analytics only in terms of auditing perspective. But I felt that, you know, why not apply this concept in a broader area? Okay, in a much broader area, into sales, into HR domain, into as basic area as fixed asset accounting. Okay, fixed asset accounting, fixed asset management. You have heavy machines, how can you manage that machine with the help of analytics, right? So that's where I moved into a hardcore and whole time into data analytics. And I started my career with Python programming language. uh, Initially 10 or 15 days with R, but eventually when I researched more into Python, and that point of time, I mean, all these institutions and these people, they were, charging a hefty amount of money for their courses, which I was not willing to basically invest in that, because a uh, they were uh, they were much more inclined towards software engineer guys, and B, a lot of time investment, as you said. So I did a lot of research and then came up with this Python language, and I started learning Python language. So eventually, there was a stigma that, how can I do coding? I don't know coding. A simple creating a working directory was also looking like, okay, a lot of codes, a lot of uh, columns, lot of brackets, lot of semicolons. I was basically the picture like I would say Darshil Safari of Tare Zameen Pe, the numbers floating around. So all this was there for the first five or 7 days. Okay, eventually when I got to understand how the syntax is written, okay, in Python, and that's where I mean, till date I have not had any issue writing any code. So right now we write around 50-60 lines of code at one stretch. Okay, and it took me 1.5 months, and every day 1 hour, 1.5 hour of code writing. So eventually what happened is I started with 1 hour of coding. After 7 days, 10 days, what happened is I used to falter, or there used to be an error, and that 1 hour started extending to 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. Okay, and that becomes engrossing, right? When you have an error, you keep on fighting that how to solve that error. You keep on researching on Google, on web searches, and you have that thing running until unless you solve that thing, you'll not go to sleep. So that 1 hour eventually turned out to be 2 hours, 3 hours. But 1.5 month, 40 hours, if I say 30 to 40 hours is the optimum time you would require to become an expert in this. And eventually, I mean, till date also we are learning. um, every now and then I have a bug coming in my codes, we do research, we do find and have a word internally, so it's still a learning path. So as a finance guy, obviously initially you will feel little difficult for a couple of days, but once you understand the syntax, I mean, you will become more comfortable with it. So that was about my journey. So I think, Bridge, we have covered these slides. Now we'll move on to the questions, right?
Right, Deepak.
So the first question comes in: my salary is 8 lakhs per annum. If I start the journey of DA, I will be starting a fresher with salary of 5 lakhs. So this question I keep on getting and keep on telling that you need not switch your domain. You need not switch your domain. You be in your domain, current domain where you are in, and try to find how you can leverage the power of analytics in your current domain. So, for example, there was one of my candidate who was into fixed asset. Okay, this example I keep on telling, and because I mean, you'll be amazed to understand and listen how he applied the concept of data analytics in an area where there would be, I mean, less of a chance. We would not think. He was into fixed asset management. He was looking after the fixed assets of the company, the machines, the production machines which were used in terms of manufacturing. So he learned data analytics, and he was again, the same question came to him that now I need to switch, and I'll get less of salary and all. So I told him the same thing. Why not you find a way where you can apply the concept of data analytics in your current domain, the work you are doing currently. So what he did was, using the concept of analytics, he used predictive analytics to come up with a model which stated when a machine would require an overhauling. Okay, when a machine would require an overhauling. And you would be amazed to listen that this exercise of his reduced the downtime of the entire fixed asset by 25%. You can understand, a machine downtime can impact a lot of production units for any organization. If you reduce that downtime by 25%, 20 to 25%, the level of revenue you are generating to the company. And his salary, you will not believe, he got a bonus of around 5 lakhs that particular year. And I mean, now he himself he himself has created a software from that predictive analytics that he had done, and now he runs his own company. So you can understand, I mean, you need not switch your profile. You should be in your current profile, in your finance profile. Finance is rich in numbers. You find numbers everywhere. You need to come up with a use case in your current domain and apply the power of analytics. How will I use this knowledge in the work? Let's see.
Deepak, I would just like to add to what you, the example which you shared, and that is how I always try to explain it to people that the way you look at number and the way what you do with what analytics you do today and what analytics you will do after you understand how machine learning works and how these algorithms work will be
Correct.
totally, it's going to be a totally sea change in terms of the way you look at a problem. For
Correct.
example, a conventional, for example, a finance guy will not look at how do I reduce, for example, overhauling of machine, right,
Correct.
or breakdown of machine,
Correct.
or maintenance of machine. He will never
Correct.
look at all these perspective because he doesn't know that by looking at the data, past maintenance, past breakdown records, he can build some kind of model, and so that he can predict when machine is most likely to get to encounter a breakdown.
Correct.
So all these things, and that's we said the heart of our program or the heart of data analytics is predictive analysis,
Correct.
where you predict things before they happen.
Mhm.
So so once you get an understanding of how it works, you know the tools is how to make it happen, and all these are free tools,
Correct.
open
These
source
are all
tool.
open source tools.
Then you can straight away, you have a problem, maybe you spend maybe an overnight to work out a solution, and you'll find, and then you test yourself. Yeah,
Correct. Correct.
you, the way you approach to a problem changes once you actually understand how these tools work.
Correct. Correct.
So as you said, there's no need of actually going and starting as a
Fresh. Yes.
junior data analyst is basically how to use this in your existing work. That is
Correct.
how you will extract a lot of value.
Correct, correct. Otherwise, you will basically flush out the years of experience you have in your domain, right? So I practice I mean this data analytics thing in my finance domain only. In I provide services to majority of my clients are from banks and insurance companies. Okay, and I never went out of finance. Okay, a couple of projects here and there would be good, but majority of the clients that we have is basically from finance background. Third is I will be competing with software developer for work. I am not technically sound. Uh, you would be competing with a software developer, but you'll always be a step ahead because you are from finance and you know your numbers, you know business very well, and that is the added advantage we have as a non-coder with a coding background people. So what coding background people does is, I have coding background people in my organization, and what they do is to tell them that I need this analysis to be done, and they will write the codes, and they are very much efficient in writing the codes, but they are not that efficient in understanding the business and creating insights, and that's where we are excelling. Okay, I tell them, okay, I need this bullet chart for this particular analysis. They write codes in Python, they come up with beautiful bullet charts for our clients. We project it to the clients. Well done. Okay, but what to do is where a data analyst or non-technical people will basically pitch in, because as a finance guy we have that upper edge of understanding the business, of understanding the numbers. This I'm learning Python. Very good. How DA for finance is
So I
different?
think this what this question was, we have shortened it. This question was that I am learning Python. The predominantly people listen Python and then they start learning Python. So this is
Correct.
that you
That,
don't have to
that's
learn
what.
Python
Yeah, that's
language.
what you iterated.
You
Don't
have
have
to
to
learn
learn
only that
Python
aspect of
software.
Python which has to do with data analytics, because
Correct.
that
Correct.
that will save time. Otherwise, you will
Because
start you will start
you are
15
you're
hours
not
of actually
supposed to.
watching video on Python, and then you'll see that there is no usage of what you're doing, and then
Correct.
with no practice it will go back to square zero, and all your enthusiasm will return home. That's what we
Correct.
have seen n number of people doing.
Correct. Because you're not learning Python for the purpose of creating games, web pages. Okay. For creating softwares, you're learning Python for data science, right? For data analytics. So you have to learn only that part of Python which is required for data analytics. Okay. How DA for finance is different from DA for engineers. They are both the same, but the only thing is if you go for DA for engineers, I guess they are talking about software engineers or normal engineers. If it's for software engineers, obviously, uh, finance people, when you tend to educate a non-coding people to a coding world, you have to have that layman kind of approach to make them understand. But when you are teaching something, some coding related stuff to software engineers, you tend to neglect some of the coding aspect, how the syntax will work, how the thing, and you move ahead into much more advanced things. So it is predominantly different per se, only in terms of how you deliberate to them. Okay, finance people, since they don't have much of an exposure in coding, so the level of teaching would be from a grassroots level, and DA for engineers, software engineers, or per se engineers would be entirely different, considering that they have some sort of coding knowledge. My age is 30. Can I start a career now in data analytics? KFC owner, he started his business KFC outlet when he was 45 or 50. So age is not the barrier. You can start any at any point of time in your career. How to switch from existing field to this new field? Again, we have talked about, you need not switch. You have to find a use case where you can apply the concept of data analytics. So that's what bridge. If we have.
So Deepak, what we have done is in the beginning when we started, I have asked them to list down question on the chat mode to an answer which is there in the mind, which they hope this webinar will answer, right? And
Okay.
so I'm just reading out those questions to see ourselves and for everyone whether we have answered this question. Skill set and courses to cover for data analytics. So I think we have covered that, the skill set which we required both from software, mindset, uh, which are needed to become a data analytics. And courses, there are various kind of courses. Predominantly, the courses are for engineers, which are very technical heavy. We have this course which is for finance people, so that they can get up and started running with data analytics as early as possible. So that is
Correct.
what, how to gather data. That is how to ensure that the quality of data. Uh,
That's again a data engineering and more into technical thing.
Right.
So
So predominantly, business people will come with the problem and with the data to you. So the data
correct,
will be provided to you to start working with them. The data
correct,
formatting, etc., will be a problem, but that is what we cover, to how to format the data, wrangle the
correct,
data so that you can use it. But otherwise, the base data will be provided by the organization.
correct, correct,
Do it require coding language? Yes, it does require coding language. We do it in Python, but
correct,
we do it in a way so that, as Deepak said, if you do 30 hours of code writing, eh, then you should be up and running smoothly with coding. So that's what it takes. Also, transition to DA roles. We have mentioned that once you learn this program, the entire way you look at data, a problem will change. And the first place where you have to apply that is in your current organization. So that is the first place, and that is how your transition will start, right? Because if you are working with some finance background and with a finance experience, you don't want to discount that experience and again start with zero. I mean,
correct,
you don't do
correct,
that. What kind of finance functions or activity will be covered? I think it covers all the functions, all the aspects of finance, non-finance also. For example, this machine breakdown, everywhere where you can reduce cost, bring efficiency is what covers. Finance, non-finance, I think it's not the factor. I think it covers everything.
correct,
In what ways it will help in finance? I think it will help in reducing cost, bringing efficiency, so that way finance. And this is one thing which I have seen when we used to work, that finance function, since they deal with cost and revenue and profit, they have access to each and every department.
correct,
If you're working with a in a factory setup, you can work along with engineers or machine operators to actually reduce, or for example, in the example which Deepak gave was reduce a machine breakdown, yeah, by doing predicting when it's going to break down. And so the application where you're going to use this is immense. I think all the functions everywhere, wherever money is involved, efficiency can be brought in. I think data analytics can be used,
correct.
right? And the last question which someone posted was, as a person working in business finance and FP&A domain, analytics is becoming more important. But I need not be a data analyst if I wish to continue in finance. So, what are the most common things in data analytics that must be learned to excel in finance domain? So, I think the most common thing which you have to learn in to do data analytics is first the tools, which is Python and Tableau, and then comes with that with the kind of examples which we cover. You learn how to look at data so that you can do good data analytics. I think this is the most common thing, and then Deepak has covered in terms of you have to learn how to communicate. You have to basically, once you understand the tools and how it is used, the entire way you look at a problem and what you can do with this problem will change, because most of us today are only doing what do you say, diagnostic analysis. What has happened?
Correct.
Right? So we don't do predictive analysis. Once you do it, I think then you yourself will come out with a lot of ways in which you can actually use in finance domain.
I guess we have covered um, the queries that have been put forward.
Great. Thank you, Deepak, for sparing your time and for taking us through your
There is a
experience. And
question from Samir which says how to download Python in Excel. So you have this. There's something called iXLL which has come up. This Excel add-in. Is it visible? Uh,
yes, it is visible.
so you can download this add-in, but this add-in will work only when you have Python installed in your system. So you have Excel, you have Python installed, and you download this add-in. Once you start your Excel, you will have that Python symbol in your this thing. So you can start interacting, writing codes in Python, and the output of that codes will reflect straight away in the Excel document.
But again, Deepak, here, my understanding is that if someone is starting data analytics, the first thing you should do is learn through the basics,
Correct.
and these all are interface. These are
Correct.
very easy to do. I think the first thing is
So
actually
why
going
why
order
so why
wise,
yeah, so why they
rather
have come
than
up with
jumping. Because if you for if someone who knows in detail, for them skipping jumping becomes easy, but
Correct.
someone who is starting up, jumping actually creates
Correct.
chaos, and it shows that it becomes too much overwhelming, that okay, this is
Correct.
also what I have to do. So I think
Correct.
start, ignore all of these things, just start with basic, and I think then a time will come, then you can automatically do all these things, right, Deepak?
Correct. Correct. Correct.
Thank you, Deepak, for
Thank you,
this
everyone.
wonderful webinar, and happy new year to you, Deepak.
Happy New Year to everyone.
Chalo. Okay,
Stay
thank you.
safe. Yeah. Thank you.